Excellent. So, good day to everyone. It's me, the Dark Master, on Living Martial Arts. And again, fantastically excited for the third time. I have Mr. Adam Woodhouse, who I'm pleased to talk to, and I'm sure that you're going to find this really, really interesting. So, how are you today, Adam?
Hi, Master G. Yeah, very good, thank you. Looking forward to this. It's strange, as we was talking about leading up to this, the idea of where to start with things. But it's one of those, once you start talking about things, it's just like two people talking. You sort of forget the standards there a bit. And
yeah, well, that's it. And I think that's what we want, really. We want everything to be first take. We don't want anything too polished.
Yes.
just like martial arts, it's always work in progress and trying to get better at it. Yeah, definitely. So what I was going to ask really was a bit more about you and your system. And it's interesting because obviously, I don't know, martial arts it takes people in different directions. It's certainly taken you in a different direction. It's taken me in many different directions over the years. You know, as I say, I started as a competitor when I never ever, when I started, thought about competing. That wasn't in my mind. And then I found out I was quite good at it. I could do quite well in it. And then from there, very, very early on, it took me into teaching. And if anybody had told me when I started martial arts that I'd be teaching it, I would have ran away because that also wasn't me. And then later on, if somebody said, you know, you're going to run or be chairman of a martial arts organization, then that would have scared me to death. And I'm still getting used to that after 20 years. I don't see myself as a chairman type person. I don't see myself like that at all. So it really is the sort of, your martial art, why you use the sort of system you do, really. And I know that's probably come from your sort of self-defense work as a doorman, and whether it was the doorman first, then the art, or whether you thought, right, I'm gonna work on this art to become a doorman or whatever. So I don't know. Tell us about it. Tell us about that.
Well, I don't think it was either of those two routes. After sort of starting to see the alternative sort of applications for things back in the sort of early mid 90s. I just wanted that extra bit of knowledge because as you always like to have that sort of idea of being tested. And that was a great thing earlier on with gradings, how I think we mentioned this last time, going about standing up in front of over 100 people quite often, and sometimes only 4 people or even 2 people on the floor. There's a lot of people looking at you for quite a while. It's it is a great test. Not just of your ability, of your physical ability, your ability to stand up in front of other people. And after you've done that a number of times, and obviously competing's a bit like that as well, especially when you get to a higher level, sort of into the black belt patterns divisions, almost more so than the sparring, because you're just up there on your own. And maybe not as much as the sparring. I'm not sure. I sort of stopped doing the sparring after sort of second dan, I think. But it's just a different way of sort of, I wanted a little bit more knowledge rather than doing the same movements again with very slight variations, which wasn't for me enough sort of an increase in step of knowledge. So I just wanted to started looking into the alternative applications and use of things like that sort of introduced me in a weird roundabout way to the British Combat Association use of the fence, which was a primary sort of driving force for skills that go with the techniques as well, and the sort of softer sided skills.
Just stopping you on that, it was interesting because I actually read Jeff Thompson's book on the fence. I've still got it here actually, and it was really interesting, just that particular position, on how you could break it down to make sure that you were doing it correctly, and everything was as it should be. And I actually got first introduced to that in the 80s. Myself and Master O, we went on a seminar with Jeff Thompson. I mean, he was very, very sort of high profile then, more than he is now, and he did a seminar in Coventry sports centre, and I think he talked for about an hour and a half on the fence and that
Yeah.
position. So it was
Okay.
fantastic. It was a real eye opener, actually, a really eye
Mm.
opener for us. So sorry, yeah, carry on, go for it.
That's the thing about you saying about the fence. It's so utterly simple, and I've had other martial artists I've talked to, and they just, oh yeah, I've seen that, and there's a complete sort of art sort of to do with the soft skills to go with that. It's, yep, I've got that. It's easy to see it and just say, well, that's just a technique, but there's so much to go with it. I still work on my fence as often as I can. I mean, with lockdown and what have you, there's no like physical person to actually do it with. But luckily, I've got a lot of experience in using it, in training in it, and in using it in reality that I can still sort of work on it to a degree. But it is a very much something that's, well, like a lot of skills, they deteriorate over time. They're so just trying to keep their hand in and work on how the stance works with it. So if someone's pushing onto that front hand, you can sort of start absorbing the pressure through the back foot so you don't topple over and things. So it's all about your posture and things. There's very, very much a lot to go with it. And if someone said, like you're saying, Jeff Thompson spent over an hour on it, and it really is, there is so much to it, as you know. It's, even though it's so utterly simple, it's quite fascinating, really. Seeing people even at a really high-end martial artists that have never done it, and it's it's a totally different type of technique, even for people that have done things like Thai boxing or very, very close physical interaction, stand-up arts. It's still a bit alien to them because of what it is, and feeling that pressure on it and deciding when to do things. Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of thing in itself.
Yeah.
Anyway, sort of back to the point. After learning some of the alternate sort of applications of the traditional Taekwondo techniques, I just got more and more into it, and I think there's a lot of them out there which aren't what I would consider that you would ever be able to be used in reality, and they're nice as an education point of view. And at the start, when I first started my own sort of system, I tried to cram too many of these techniques into it, and there ended up just being this massive funnel of information. And like Jeff Thompson talks a lot about this, as you know, about that sort of what does he call it? Like you get a tunnel vision, and you're trying to fit a number of techniques into this one moment, and under the effects. And the fence and doing fence work and adrenal sort of dump testing teaches you that you've got too many of these things trying to fit into this tiny gap. Oh, what if he grabs me? Do I do this, or do I do this technique or this technique? So it's all got to be fine-tuned, and generally throw the more difficult technical ones, as it were, out of the way, and just try and keep hold of the simpler ones. And these days, I have ditched most of the ones that I deem, that haven't got, how do I put it? If something goes slightly wrong, you want it to at least have some sort of cover and have some sort of practicality still, because a lot of them rely on them working 100%. And as even most of you would say, like the bunkai experts, the application experts would say, that they're just training tools. And they're good to know for, as I said, the sort of historical knowledge, and just looking at the martial arts from a different angle, as it were. But the actual practical thing is the element that sort of I ended up sort of getting into. So, but yeah, going back to your question of which sort of came through, I got much more into the techniques. And then after doing the door work for some time, I decided to start streamlining this system, but it was almost a little bit too late by then. Because I'd been teaching it for a few years by then, and I didn't decide that straight away as a doorman. It was like 4 or 5 years later. So I've been teaching the system for maybe 6 years before and it seemed a bit too late because I spent all this time teaching people. It made me a bit sort of feel negative about what I had as a whole. And yeah, so it got streamlined at a much later date. And we used to wear like a heavyweight dobok, a heavyweight gi in the class. I had a belting system. I mean, these days I've still got a sort of a loose grading system. There's only like 3 grades, but that's just to sort of give sort of stepping stones sort of to go through. But even someone who's been training with me for 20 odd years, but one of the guys is training with me now for since like the sort of late 90s, I guess. He still does the stuff that the beginners do, because it's all skill based and it's all to do with sensitivity of feeling where the person is and stepping off at angles and reacting to things that are happening. So yeah, it's honing skills, and all these skills deteriorate over time. So it's always good to keep your hand in, even on the utmost basics, and not just the technique, but the skills as well. Not just hitting a bag, but reacting to things that are happening and people moving into you and what to do at certain times. So yeah, keeping those skills in, and it is a lot more streamlined now. I probably teach only, I don't know the exact number of techniques, but probably about 20 altogether. And some people would say, well, like for instance in Taekwondo, what grade would you say you'd learned 20 techniques at? Probably green tag, maybe, I don't know, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how you look at it, because I actually see, I mean, there's lots of different techniques in Taekwondo, but actually the founder of Taekwondo, General Che, told me this, that after blue belt, most things are repetition. But actually, I see it a lot simpler than that. I may be doing something slightly different with my arm in a different shape. Let's call it a shape. But my actual body is moving the same way.
Sure.
So I don't see when I look at, say, Taekwondo, I don't see now lots of techniques. I used to see, all these techniques. We do this technique, and then all of a sudden I thought, well, actually, this technique is really this technique, but with a different arm position, or this kick is this kick, but slightly different variation or hitting a different target. So I actually see the art now a lot smaller than when I first started. It looked huge. You learn this pattern, but then I thought, actually, this pattern's very similar to this pattern, and we only learn a different move every now and again. But actually, most things are very, very similar. And my mindset is that, if I had the choice, and for me, I was going to design sort of Taekwondo, you could probably use the first 7 or 8 patterns and say, right, that's it, that's Taekwondo. Now just make up some moves yourself based on what you've just learned. But also, I see, you're talking about, say, the Karate Bunkai and the guys that do that. I sort of look at that, and I look at the perhaps that their defense. They're defending against a specific thing, and obviously, fighting doesn't work like that, because you don't know what's going to come.
Of course,
and I think that's why things like the fence and standing, and also as well, and I don't know whether you teach this, perhaps you can let us know, is the verbal communication between people, because actually the verbal communication is huge in self-defense, which I think myself included, I'm guilty of this, and a lot of martial arts don't cover. What are your thoughts on that?
The idea of difference between I don't just teach the idea of self-defense. I like the whole sort of the full spectrum of self-protection. So things like situational awareness, and then the contact management or the conflict management, when the verbal interaction between people. So that's using the fence and reacting with it, not just a physical action, but also you can use things like facial expressions, posturing with your hands. If you want to set up something where you're, I don't know if you can see the hands, instead of having the fence sort of here, you might want to use the hands this way. There's something I used to use as a doorman like this, where I would be in the middle of a conversation with somebody and I'd feed them through into a lateral vascular constriction, into a sleeper. I'd use this on this. I'd be talking to them like that. I'd go, look, mate, and this would be almost like a questioning posture. So you're sort of going through the verbal interaction, but also trying to use your body at the same time as the verbal. So in self-protection, you might say this: I don't want any trouble. What's the problem? And this is like a question. You're like, I don't know. What's the problem? The hand's coming here. And as I might be talking, I might use this on their right elbow and punch into their left shoulder and take them round and put them into the lateral vascular constriction, which is commonly called the sleeper. And then I'd be in a safe position behind them and I could see what else was going on and pull them and take them out. And we've used that quite a lot with people. Going back to the verbal interaction thing is a huge thing. So if you haven't got that or an understanding of it, you could have a great position. Right, I've got the person in front of me. You could line them up for your KO, like preemptive strike or whatever you're going to do. But if someone's verbally interacting with you, and you're not used to it, it's often like, well, when does the fight start? When does this physical interaction actually start here? Oh, I've been here, and it's something that 100% people, someone who's interested in actual doing self-defense is a very, very important factor on it. That bit, which we haven't been able to do very much over the last year, of course, because it obviously involves that bit of contact. But it's a huge part of self-defense. Is just getting used to that aggression. Remember doing a seminar over at Phil Whitlock's probably a year and a half ago now. And one of your students, the Scottish gent, what's the fourth degree?
Mark.
God, I'm terrible with names. Yeah, and he's done self-defense before. And I said, "What? We're just going to simulate someone being aggressive." And he actually, because he's done things like this before, he came out and was shouted and aggressive. And he's got a very deep voice, and obviously, the way he approached it was quite real. And you could see people like actually going, "Whoa!" Like I could see them out of my periphery, sort of going, "Whoa, this is a bit, this is a bit heavy." And it's good for them to see that, even though it's someone they obviously have a level of trust and understanding that they've got this trust. He's a fourth degree. He's always very polite, and he's runs the tournaments, I believe. To a degree.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah.
So everyone really knows him and has got that sort of automatic trust and sort of respect for him. But he flared up and did that, and even though it wasn't at them and it was in a controlled environment and everyone knew there was going to be a level of aggression because I'd already said what the next subject was, it was really sort of labeled the point, because he actually swore at me, which is obviously a part of the language that's used today, especially in aggression. People don't say, "You blighter, I'm going to get you," and
you can.
There's always the sort of idea they're using sort of sexual expletives and they're always tends to be the sharper words used. I'm gonna fuck you up or whatever. And it was good that he did that, but it shocked me in a way as well, which was good because I went back into my fence. I thought he was just going to be physically aggressive, and it was just good. And it really sort of switched me on, and I really sort of made the point to everybody. This is, what I just said about how trusting everyone is. You all know who this guy is. And it still made them shock, even though they knew the whole situation. It was a good sort of wake up call for people. And it's a massive thing. It's a very, very important thing to be able to deal with, that verbal interaction, especially when people are flaring up, and knowing sort of what to say and how to always be thinking of what you're going to do. And that's what you're saying about the difference between reactive and proactive sort of attitude to self-protection. And it really, those sort of interactions are the things that make understanding a preemptive strike being the most important thing, rather than going, if they punch you, do this block, do this. Because it's very, very, to be reactive to those things is, I've only done it a few times, and it's worked out very well when I've done it. The person's always ended up in a very debilitated position. I've been in complete control. But that was few and far between. I've been talking about the sort of variations on the techniques. And we've spoken about this before. There's a few that really can work in many situations, but very, very few. And they're the sort of ones that I teach, ones that can cover a wide variety of things happening. A lot of them are to do with like giving us the person flinches and comes at you and going from your fence and coming in here and sort of entering and maybe spearing with 2 elbows or 1 elbow here or covering this way. But these are all sort of variations of what, after the entry here, it could be considered to be a wedging. So coming in, parting the arm and the head, and then you get your techniques from there. But it's simple because it's like a flinch response, a lot of people refer to it as. I'm here, the person suddenly attacks, and I'm just covering myself. But it's weaponizing that flinch. And I never really thought of it as a wedging block until I sort of went boom, boom. And I suddenly went, oh, I grabbed the person there, and I grabbed him around sort of the neck here. And and it's almost like a wedging block. I'm not saying it is, it's just a good way to sort of realize that the hand's coming in here. So you're using the backs of the arms here, not exposing the belly. And then as you enter, you're grabbing so the hands are turning. And it's just a good biomechanic.
Sure.
But then again, you could go to here, and if the hand goes low, it could end up being like we've talked about this before as well. It could be like a knife on guarding block. And it's I don't really like to say this is this is this. I just said it could, if I'm teaching someone who's done a traditional martial art, it's like saying, well, it's a bit like this rather than it is.
Yes.
But all the stance uses are there. I mean, I use, like, apart from the basic stance in the fence, walking stance is a primary use. Going from here to actually close that distance, to actually generate the power. I mean, all the stances really do come into their own when you actually look at these things. There's like you see some of the UFC fighters. I mean, John Jones is a classic. He uses horse stance, sitting stance quite a bit. He dips into it. He uses a rear foot stance quite a bit as well. And he doesn't stop in it, and you have to actually really watch for it to actually be able to pinpoint it. They're all those stances are used in there. But because they don't stop in it, it's very hard to actually pinpoint and see it because of the fluidity of the action. I think I've gone off a tangent now, sorry.
No, that's fine. I think that's some good explanation there. And I think for, people listening to this, for me, what you're saying there about sort of doing something, then realizing actually it looks a little bit like this is something that's the way my brain works as well. I see something, I think, oh wow, that's a guarding block, or that could be this, or it could be that, or so on. Our body generally all moves in the same way, and whether we're doing martial arts or whether we're doing something else. But I also find that with other disciplines as well, sporting disciplines. I look at that and think, oh wow. I was watching a badminton practice session a couple of years ago as a badminton coach, and the footwork was so much like martial arts. It was unbelievable. Right. Because when you're moving from one position to the next, and you want to get there with, speed, and you want to use a certain type of movement to get into a certain position.
And also control at the end of the movement rather than just running forwards.
Exactly. And I was looking at it, I was thinking, wow, that's really good. That's almost like martial arts footwork. And they were, it was badminton. And I'm sure probably the same would be for things like squash or tennis or whatever, and the way the body moves and the balance and so on. So, I think what you said there makes perfect sense. What I was also going to ask was, for me, I've mentioned this before on previous podcasts. I love the fitness side of a martial art, the way that it keeps my body strong. And I think probably the value of some of the movements and some of the patterns that we do give you a lot of physical benefits. They may not be practical. We know that. But actually the physical benefits of just lifting your arms above your shoulders, or bending your knees in a certain way, moving through a form of maybe 30 or 40 movements will give you that physical benefit. So what I was going to ask was, whether you put, you have a physical element to the classes that you run. Now you don't teach what I would call, say, a traditional art per se, even though you're using elements of it. How does that work, the physical side?
Well, I do. This is akin. I mean, a pattern is like shadow boxing, really, isn't it? That's sort of what it is.
Yes.
I mean, going back sort of traditionally, you would learn the techniques, and the Japanese sort of Okinawan kata would be just a way of remembering them all and sticking them together. I do have loose sort of forms, but they do change a little bit over time, which it sounds almost blasphemous in martial arts sometimes, just to like hardcore traditionalists. But there's some like you see some of the quotes from the Okinawan masters. I can't remember exactly what they are, but there's a few of them that say the kata should change and be fluid if new information is found. So it's like you get some sort of traditionalists saying, "Oh, that shouldn't be done like that," and it's like, well, look what the founder of this martial art said, and it creates a lot of controversy and what have you, a lot of sort of negativity sometimes. Which I mean, I'm outside of all of that, of course, but there's lots of sort of social media groups that I belong to, so I can feed information off of them and look at what they're doing and see if I can sort of glean anything from them that I can utilize myself. But yeah, I do have kata. I do have just a basic number of them. Very, very few moves in them, really. But it's hard when you're creating them, because from like a set, if I've done like I've done this crash entry here, which is like the wedging block. From there, there's a huge number of ways we can go from there. Whether I've got the arm under this armpit or I've got it under here, and creating them and trying to collect them all, so everything I want is in there, but still not too much information. It can be difficult, and it's a bit of a headache to do. So I tend to, people just want to get in there and do some things that'll work initially. But yeah, I do practice my own and try and add to them and try and sort of perfect them, which will obviously never happen in the long run. But yeah, I do completely agree with you with the patterns. I mean, they're an excellent form of exercise, and they can make people go through ranges of movement with their body and realize lack of mobility and flexibility in themselves through doing them, and therefore can try and improve on them. Whereas if they just go, I'm going to go running, it's just this single plane of movement, and you'd never realize your posture might be out and things like that. Yeah, I mean, as you say, the things like this, obviously, sort of things like self-defense wise, you're taking the joint to the extent of movement on two sides, and things like that, and it's probably got no real sort of absolutely practical application. But again, it's flexibility, and this is to do with posture and things like that. Whereas the posture I'm generally using is sort of, yeah, a bit more hunched, as it were. Whereas, you know, Taekwondo, as you've always said about posture, shoulders back and head back and get in the spinal alignment, the Taekwondo patterns really do show you that. Just sort of going back to what you were saying about badminton and sports, and this is to do with posture as well. So these two sort of connect there. Over the years, I've looked at different ways of power generation, and because I'm not like a heavy, big, strong, naturally strong guy, I've always looked for ways for generating power. And again, looking at different sports, and the way that I've obviously you get different martial arts saying, do this, no, do this. And they're arguing about whether the punch should be this way, or whatever. I know, you know, it's all these different angles coming from. But if you look at, I look at javelin throwers, because javelin throwers all over the world all throw more or less the same. And you can see from the side, I've seen some videos of the way the spine works. So instead of just using the twist, using things like the spinal engine. So it's got a whipping effect, and it gives them much more maximum power on the end. And that could be changed to transferred into way people punch as well. I mean,
yeah,
going to sort of when I go to Thailand and hitting pads, I've actually had people say for my weight how hard I can hit, which is, I mean, my Thai box is not that good, believe me. You go over there and I feel rather poor at it, really. But it's good to have that sort of, oh wow, and you know how that's really good. But obviously with things like language barriers, it's hard to actually sort of express what I mean by how I do it. But some of them sort of get the idea of it, and it really can increase your power looking at that. And the way I sort of teach that is often get people to just throw a ball, or I used to have tennis balls, they all got lost, but getting people to throw a focus mitt or a boxing glove, hand mitt or whatever, and just forget martial arts, just throw it as far as you can and have a wall there and get their partner to watch their body, how it moves from the side. And it's got that fluidity. And the spine tends to sort of go through this action here, just like a javelin thrower. So that's the thing about definitely looking at sports for trying to sort of glean what I can from what I can see of how their body moves. For sure, it's definitely been an interesting road going down watching that.
Yeah,
the same. It's not so obvious because it's underneath, but they do something quite similar as well, like golfers as well. Sorry, go on.
Well, no, I was going to just really agree with you. You know, I've watched different sports, and I always like watching, because I'm quite a shorter, lighter individual. I've always liked watching shorter, lighter people
Sure.
and who create power. You think, wow, you know, they're that small. They haven't got a lot of weight, so where's that power coming from? And I find that, you know, just looking at people, very similar to that, looking at the way they move, you know, whether it's kicking a ball, throwing a ball, hitting a ball, and looking. And also as well, I mean, I would add to that things like coordination and timing, and having distance as well with certain things. You know, if we're talking about generally sports, coordination, timing, and some have amazing coordination, amazing timing, amazing accuracy, and that all comes into it as well. So you know, I think there's a sometimes when you see somebody do something, you think, wow, that's fantastic, but there's so many elements that go into that. So you can really pick apart everything, say, wow, their timing was good, their balance was excellent, you know, and everything together just brings it together. So yeah.
That's what Conor McGregor, I mean, he's a fantastic stand-up fighter, and he says timing and accuracy beat speed and power for the actual effect of it. And one of the things I try and sort of teach, if someone's holding a focus mirror, I'm hitting a bag or something, if I want to hit that as hard as I can, I'll run it from across the room. It's just sort of an exaggeration of it. If I want to hit something hard, I'll make it a massive technique. But that's the thing, if someone sees it, then they're just going to move away from it, and the power will end up going away from the strike, lessening it. So it's that thing about hitting creating that power with a small movement, so it isn't telegraphed. And it's the timing and accuracy thing is different in when you preempt striking someone than actually having a sort of consensual violence fight with somebody, because then you've got to time the closing distance. It's a different skill when someone's on the end of your hand and they're pushing their weight on here. It's more down to sort of the timing's a little bit different. It's choosing the time when to do it is a completely different sort of analysis than choosing the time of when you're stalking each other at a sort of longer range, because you've got to try and time it when they're coming in, or you try and evade and then counter them. But yeah, timing and accuracy, if you hit as we all know, if you do a lighter strike at the right area, it makes a huge difference than doing a heavy strike on the wrong area. Like if someone brings their shoulder up and you hit them with a heavy hook on the shoulder, it'll make the body move a bit, but it hasn't done the desired effect of hitting them like on the hinge of the jaw with a lighter strike. So it's huge things they are as well, and it's fine tuning things. And the other thing about understanding adrenaline and actually putting yourself under pressure testing, because often it gives you that panic, and I'm going to make this technique as big as I can because I want to hit them as hard as I can. And that, with that telegraphing sort of effect, it really lessens the effect, the damage. The power would be there, like if you were hitting a bag, but the damage is different. Sometimes I'm hitting a bag or something, it doesn't look like I'm hitting it very hard, but I'm looking for the effect it'll have on the person rather than the actual effect it will have on the pad. It's a very it can sometimes look a bit odd, like it's not going to do anything, but the effect can be quite dramatic. There was at the weigh-ins of the UFC just for the weekend gone, they square up and do their sort of face-off. And one guy pushed the other guy back quite hard. It didn't look like anything sort of dramatic or special, but because the other guy wasn't ready for it, he actually couldn't compete. he felt that he was ill. He was out just from being pushed back. And it does sort of show the effect of, if I'm there in my fence, if I make this a big technique, yes, it will have more power. But the actual effect of that, if I make this a smaller technique that the other person can't see coming and it isn't telegraphed, and therefore they haven't got the awareness, their brain isn't switched, and their body doesn't tense up for it. It's the difference again, actually, how it can affect the damage of the strike, make a huge difference. And it's like being in if you're going to be in a car crash. This is one way I often go through it. If you're going to be in a car crash, and I'm looking out the window this way, and the car's coming this way, and my body and brain are relaxed, you haven't got any preparation for it coming. You're just going to go woof and fly over, and your brain's going to get thrown around here. But if I see it coming, I'm going to tense. I've got physical and mental preparation for being hit, and it makes a lot of difference. You're tensing up, you're keeping everything together as one unit, and it's not going to actually rock the brain and cause that sort of as much effect. Well, obviously, still a car crashing into you is not going to be pleasant, but it's just neither's being hit. But it's just trying to sort of have that bit of an understanding of using a more streamlined technique rather than something that might look impressive on the bag or whatever. And I think
that's fine. To be honest, I think that's been great. We're nearly, believe it or not, we're nearly to the end of time.
Okay.
But that's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed listening to your concepts because it is fascinating. It's fascinating where coming to train with me and seeing you as a young person, and then where this has taken you into different things. But I think it's good because I think we have to examine what we do and why we're doing it, and whether it's for self-defense, and are we getting that out of it, and if we're not, what do we need to do? Is it just a physical elements of training that we love? Is it the social elements? And just really recognize why we're doing something, and recognize then, are we getting what we want from it? So no, it's brilliant. Once again, this is our third one. I'd love to do another one. So much to talk about, and I think the people listening to this will be fascinated by your thoughts. I'm hoping that some of the people listening to this will be able to attend some of the sessions that you do, and I think it will be very, very beneficial for them.
Even one little glimpse at it is an eye opener, and all sometimes can be enough to give you that idea of things.
Yes, yes.
Of self-protection. Anyway, time is up.
Indeed. Well, just want to say to everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of Living Martial Arts with me, the Dark Master, and with Mr. Adam Woodhouse. A fantastic interview. Really, really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you.